And welcome everybody to the first episode of the Chillin Chronicles, where I will be deep diving into different gaming topics throughout the week, months, and days to come. Did want to dive into a really big topic of Assassin's Creed, one of the main games that I really love, and I know one of my friends does as well, which I am going to introduce him now to the show. Welcome, InHumanLine, to the first episode of the Chillin Chronicles. What's going
Thank
on,
you for
man?
the invitation, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you.
Hell yeah,
Pleasure
dude.
to be here, man.
Yeah, there's been a lot of Assassin's Creed news, like rumors, I guess, say in the works, and obviously there was some news in regards to Assassin's Creed Mirage today. So I just figured, why not kick off the Chilling Chronicles, talking about something that I know me and you can be very passionate about. So like
Hell
let's
yeah.
just talk about like our love for the franchise. So like I know you've been a true fan of Assassin's Creed since the beginning. I'm a newer fan to Assassin's Creed, where I started with Syndicate, to put it in my perspective. So tell me about like your
Okay.
journey with Assassin's Creed and your love for it and any connections to the real world.
God, I funny enough, I think I actually first played Assassin's Creed back in I don't even remember back in the days where they used to have the platinum hits version of
Yeah,
games.
yeah, yeah.
Like the 360 case was silver and
Silver,
everything.
yeah.
So I was at the store and I saw it was a platinum hit version of the first Assassin's Creed. And I never played it before. I asked my mom and everything. I was like, "Yo, mom, can I get this?" She was like, "Sure, why not?" and everything. So I got it and played it. Blew my mind. From that point on, I have been an Assassin's Creed through and through. My youngest out of my three boys, his middle name's Altair, named after the main character from the first Assassin's Creed, Altair Ibn Alahad. So yeah, no, I'm a huge freaking fan.
That's definitely for sure. And like as soon as I saw like even like Magic the Gathering when they were doing a crossover with Assassin's Creed, I was like, yeah, I gotta send this to Inhuman because I know he's gonna love this shit.
I was just looking at my pre-orders today.
When did they come in? I can't even remember when they released.
July 8th, I believe, or June 8th. I think it's June 8th. Yeah,
Okay, that's not too
yeah,
bad. But another get through May and then you'll get them.
yeah.
But yeah,
I
man.
can't wait.
Yeah, my love for Assassin's Creed has definitely been interesting because I did start with Syndicate, so I missed like basically the peak time of Assassin's Creed. A lot of people would say like the Syndicate time was like on the downfall of Assassin's Creed, but I thoroughly enjoyed Syndicate, especially being able to play between a brother and a sister, like Jacob and Evie Fry. So that was a lot of fun. But the issue then I did have is I was like, man, Syndicate, this game was awesome. Let me go play another Assassin's Creed, and they go back to Unity, and I'm like, ooh, this one was kind of rough. Like it felt really clunky and didn't really feel that great compared to Syndicate because obviously it was an older iteration of the game. And I've done that several times over. I did that with like trying to think of another game I did that with where I went back and played a different game and I was like, man, this is bad. Like what the fuck? Fallout. Played Fallout 4 and tried to go back to play 3 and I was like, ooh, this
Oh
shit's
yeah, no.
outdated.
You can't even build nothing today.
Right. So I eventually did go back. I beat Assassin's Creed 1. And I was like, man, this shit was really good. And then I downloaded 2. I think I played the first couple missions of 2 and I was like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna get into this because I know it's one of the best ones in the series. And I was like, I'm
It's a
really
good time.
excited to play through that timeline of Assassin's Creed, like 2 and 3 and like Brotherhood and all those. So I there's tons of Assassin's Creed content to dive into. I did play through Origins and Odyssey and Valhalla and recently Mirage, so I've been on the roll. I beat every Assassin's Creed that's ever came out since Syndicate
Yeah,
as
and
well.
what I will say about that, funny enough, um, the jump between Assassin's Creed 1 and Assassin's Creed 2 is possibly the biggest jump in the whole series. Mind you, we've had over now 15 years of Assassin's Creed, and it literally 1 and 2 is the biggest jump. Everything else feels incremental, but that's because they were doing it annual, and then
Yeah,
eventually they started taking a break as the series went on. But yeah, I don't know. It's something about those old games, man.
yeah,
I love them.
yeah. I'm just sad that again, like when the OG Assassin's Creed came out, I think it was like '07, right? Somewhere around
Yes.
there, and that's when Call of Duty was like here, like Call of Duty 4
Yep.
was out, and I was like Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty, and on top of that, Halo 3 just came out, so it was Call of Duty and Halo at the same time, and I completely forgot about every other game. So I've missed like Mass Effect. I missed all of the Mass Effects at one point. I eventually went back and beat the
Oh,
trilogy, but I just beat the trilogy last year. Um,
I
so it's
played the
just
Legacy.
yeah, the Legacy Edition, which I'm glad I ended up playing
Hey,
it that way because I got to play it at its best
uh,
possible fidelity. And in game,
that's
it was one of the best experiences I've ever had in gaming. But it's just like I missed a ton of games, including Assassin's Creed, because of that.
yeah.
So I'm glad I'm able to circle back and the games hold up really well. But Nonetheless, man, let's talk about though the current status of the series because a lot of people aren't a fan of where Assassin's Creed is at now, especially with like the bigger games. Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla felt really massive, especially with the RPG mechanics. Felt a little bit different. Valhalla was just like brute force. There was like less of the sneaking, the assassinating, and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
but Mirage tried to circle it back and bring it back to its roots, but it still kind of fumbled the bag a little bit. So I'm curious to see like with the future of the games, which we're going to dive into here in a little bit. But it's like the current status of all the Assassin's Creeds. Like, do you like where they're at, or do you want it to return to their roots? Like,
Um, See, it's really weird. I feel as though it works but doesn't work.
mm-hmm,
It it's tough on how to really put it. If you were to do a big RPG game such as a Valhalla, Origins, or Odyssey in the setting of Mirage, it doesn't really work. There's not as many or it can work due to if you get deeper into the religious aspects and the things they believe in with jinns and stuff like that.
mm-hmm,
Yes, you can do it, but there's only but so much you can do.
right,
Now I do like to step back of going to like its roots, and I feel as though Origin is really 50-50 with fans. It's
mm-hmm,
either it completely missed the mark, or it's like this is everything we've wanted. And I feel as though I kind of fall into the this is kind of everything that I wanted,
mm-hmm,
only for the simple fact is that I do honestly miss just the simplicity of Assassin's Creed.
yeah,
I can climb stuff, assassinate, and keep moving on and everything. But I do feel as though the pacing of the story is something that isn't really given much of a nod to, primarily due to the fact that what you call it, there are time skips in the story.
mm-hmm,
So it's hard to kind of talk about a pacing of the story when there's I think what two time skips within the whole story, and then a third as well.
mm-hmm,
So it is at first, yeah, at the end there's another time skip. So it's rough to kind of go into the whole pacing of the story when things like that happen. But regardless, I did actually fully enjoy the story. It puts you in a point in which is like we don't know the character Bassam at all. All we know is how he is when he's introduced in Valhalla. We finally get that backstory, amazing and stuff.
mm-hmm,
When it came to Origins, now that's where everything switched. We went from kind of where things were, how the gameplay loop was just kind of a complete cycle. Origins introduced a more RPG aspect to it, and it gave more fighting style, more akin to whether it be a Soulsborne game or a Witcher type game. And it was a breath of fresh air, but the story was also there.
mm-hmm,
Odyssey, I felt as though gave you the experience, didn't give you the story.
mm-hmm,
Valhalla, I felt like gave you too much of everything.
yeah,
Like it was like yo heavy handed with the salt. Like you gotta relax and
yeah,
everything. And then I felt like Mirage, it was like, hey, we're just gonna dial it down 10 and just give you a solid story, solid gameplay, but nothing stands out. So it's kind of really hard to say where the series stands as a whole because I do feel as though Mirage was kind of a like, here, fine, take this. And if it doesn't work, hey, we told you guys it wasn't going to work. Back to RPGs.
right, right. So
So
I
the
mean,
currency is weird.
yeah, for sure. So I'm just gonna take this and segue into the last point I wanted to cover is just like the confirmed and the rumors of the future because like just talking about the future, like I'm curious to see what they do with the franchise. Like, do they continue to have these massive games like Valhalla and Odyssey, but then like they alternate like every other year they do these massive games and then they do games the size of like Mirage. And I think like that could be a really good balance where it's like not too much of one thing, but it's still has a nice balance and it gives you a nice quick back and forth so you have both experiences and it's almost reminds me of like say like Forza, right? Forza Motorsport and Forza Horizon are two completely different experiences
Yeah.
but they're still the same franchise, so it's like not everyone that loves motorsport loves Horizon, and I'm one of those fans like that. Like I love Horizon more than I do motorsport because motorsport seems way too realistic for me, where Horizon still has the realism but it's definitely more arcade feeling to it.
Yeah,
So
you
I
got
wonder
the
if it's
Hot
a
Wheel update.
yeah, well, that too. All the fun shit happens in Horizon, but
Yes.
yeah. But with Assassin's Creed, I like sometimes like spending 60, 80, 100 hours in an Assassin's Creed game, that can be daunting. Where like Mirage was a nice playthrough that took what 15, 20 hours at most, and it was a
Yeah,
really thorough experience. I think I maybe did it in 13 or 14. I can't remember how fast I beat my shit, but I
yeah,
skip a lot of side missions most of the time in most of my games anyway. At least right now, because I'm trying to get
yeah.
through 52 games in a year. But
I
um,
understand.
but
My numbers are inflated because I like collecting.
so, but just real quick though, what's your thoughts on like them going back and forth between like a big game and a smaller game?
I think it can work, but I think eventually you're gonna run out of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So like pretty much what it seems like they're trying to do is let's just give time period stories, which is literally just what Mirage was. This doesn't push the modern day story ahead whatsoever. I don't know if Assassin's Creed Red, which is the next game going to be based in Japan, if that's going to push the story forward. I do not know, or modern day story, I should say. But I do feel as though in a world in which we keep getting remakes and remasters, they have the building blocks for a couple games. Assassin's
Mm-hmm.
Creed China, Assassin's Creed Russia, Assassin's Creed India. They can actually make some of these smaller things to say, hey, we're going to do a remake of these 2D side scrollers, use the engines we have today and all the stuff we have, and literally do like, hey, here's Assassin's Creed India,
Mm-hmm.
and boom, give you a cool 15 to 21 hour game and just keep it pushing and sell it for $50.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, when Assassin's Creed Infinity comes out, which is supposed to be their launcher,
Mm-hmm.
all it is going to be is, hey, pick your experience that you want.
Right.
So it's like, all right, cool. It's like put on a VR headset and do what you like. It's going to be pretty much the same concept. So I think that's eventually what they're going to do, and I don't think that a 2D side scroller would be what they would push.
Mm-hmm.
So if they want something that they already have the building blocks for, they already have multiple side scrollers they could go ahead and run with.
Right. Yeah, and actually, you make a great point there because thinking about it, like another one of Ubisoft's big games is Prince of Persia, right? Prince of
Yep.
Persia: The Lost Crown was a completely different take on the franchise, where it became like this Metroidvania side-scrolling game, and maybe that's what Assassin's Creed could do is branch out to different genres instead of it being this massive open world like 3D third person action adventure game. Like, what if it does become like a Metroidvania side scrolling? What if it becomes like a point and click adventure? Like, like there's different versions, like different ways of tackling this, and then also the point of views because you always, at least from my recollection, you always play from the assassin's point of view. What happens if you play from the Templars' point of view?
That was done uh in the, what do you call it? Uh in the tutorial for Assassin's Creed, I think Black Flag was it? Or Unity, and then Assassin's Creed Rogue was an assassin that turned Templar. So that
Okay.
was the only time. But we're talking about Assassin's Creed Rogue was the transition from 360 to Xbox One. So we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about the
Yeah.
years ago. So yeah, no, we honestly haven't had like a Templar experience unless those technically Assassin's Creed Rogue is where you would go. I believe you played as Shay, is it? Something like that. I
Yeah,
forget his name.
I have never played that one. It is on the backlog to eventually get to. I think I own it because I think it was like free with Xbox Game Gold or whatever at the time. So,
Yeah,
so we'll check it out.
very good game. Very good game.
So you did name drop Assassin's Creed Red, which is the unofficial official title as of right now for their upcoming supposed to be their next game. There you said it's supposed to be still being released later this year, so maybe we see this at the Summer Games Fest coming up.
I'm praying.
And but this one's pretty interesting because I'm reading off him from a tweet that you actually sent over to me from at Rhino the Bouncer, and he basically like describes it in full what to expect from that. So I'm gonna read off some of these things here. It says franchise development, Assassin's Creed franchise as a whole isn't moving to a new engine, which that's fine because I figured the engine that they're running on has been really solid for a long time. It looks really good. I have no
Yep.
complaints there. Um, they are also will be using a substantial evolution of the current one named Anvil Pipeline, so that's good. They're just basically updating, kind of like how Call of Duty's been doing. Like they kind of stick
Yeah.
to the same engine, they just kind of update it here and there.
Yep.
But they're trying to make like all of the developers use one engine so it stays consistent. So that makes sense. Um, but yeah, they're kind of like overhauling like everything in the series, like the animations, parkour, dynamic weather, and much more, which would be awesome. Like to see the weather being able to change within a game. Like if say they took like Forza Horizon's dynamic weather in the seasons and they dropped it into like an Assassin's Creed game, that could be revolutionary in that kind of sense. And if they can make parkour feel a lot better, So sometimes Assassin's Creed parkour can feel a bit clunky, but then sometimes you're like, man, I'm a badass. I'm just running all over these roofs.
I'm not gonna lie, I do think that that's actually where the RPG games have completely dropped the ball. Once they made the switch, parkour system has went down. Now, funny enough, as clunky as Assassin's Creed Unity was, I do feel as though when it worked, Assassin's Creed Unity was the best parkour system
Mm,
we've ever had. Being able to choose between when you run up to a table, do I slide under the table or do I vault over it? Little
mm,
things like that just made it so much better. When you're descending down a building from climbing, like it's so buttery smooth and everything. And I do hope that they do fix it because between Valhalla to Mirage, there was, a little bit of fixing that they did do. But when we're talking about now, you're in Japan and with their building structure and things like that,
hmm
you're gonna have to fix that a lot.
Yeah.
Like I remember playing on the OG Xbox. Uh, we're gonna say that another time. Yeah. Hopefully they fix it.
Yeah, for sure. And then also it says Codename Red will also be the last of the fantasy RPG formula that was once introduced during Origin. So like maybe we finally do see those massive RPG versions of Assassin's Creed die off for a little bit, and then obviously return down the road. Then he released some information in regards to like the gameplay. Says combat and codename Red is similar to Valhalla, but with more gore, including blood and decapitations, which would be pretty cool. Stealth plays a major role, akin to Splinter Cell, which would be really awesome. Which eventually we'll see a new game from that. Players extinguishes
Hopefully.
torches to hide in their shadows. You can hide bodies in tall grass, sneak through bushes, and go prone. That would be something really different. We've never been able to go prone in any of the games, at least not to my recollection, unless it was one of
I
the games I never played.
Valhalla, you were if you just pressed B, you were able, or is it left trigger? Yeah, you're able to go prone.
I don't think
And
I've ever went prone.
I think in Assassin's Creed Unity, if you clicked in the right thumbstick, I believe it was, you go prone. Um, I can't remember. I might have been, but yeah, in Valhalla you were able to, and I believe also in Mirage you were able to, question mark. I forget. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
believe so. Yeah.
It says players can also build their settlements in a big way named the Hideout. So it's basically an evolution of like the settlement system that was introduced in Valhalla. Hopefully, it's a little bit more useful and impactful because I feel like I just wasted my time doing working on the settlement. I
Yeah.
didn't think it had much of a benefit in any
I
way.
was at the end. I was at the end of the last story arc when I was like, "Oh, wait a minute! I can actually build shit here," and
Like, oops.
I didn't even touch that.
You probably just did the ones that were part of like the storyline, like stuff that you had to build
Yeah,
to
had to
get to
build
the
a
next
lady the
mission.
hut to go. Yeah, to go to freaking go play as Thor or play
Yeah,
as Odin and shit like that. I'm like, bro,
yeah.
come on now.
It says there's going to be fewer map markers, which encourages players to explore, which is actually pretty awesome because sometimes it can be overwhelming with all of the different map markers. And this kind of like goes more towards like the exploration of like say like Elden Ring. Elden Ring left the map really wide open, and if you stumbled upon something, like it felt more immersive as opposed to
Yes.
oh here's something coming up, let me go check it out. I see it over like, you know, sometimes like I do find myself just staring at a map half the time, and these massive games are like,
Yeah.
all right, I gotta look here, I gotta go here, and how do I get there? Oh, there's a couple things in between. How close am I? Like you're just constantly looking at the map without even being immersed in the game.
You know what? I I have a feeling that sometimes Assassin's Creed. Not a feeling. I will say Assassin's Creed Valhalla gets a short end of the stick a lot. I think as though because the game was too big, it gets shitted on a lot. In Valhalla, there is literally so much that you walk by that you will never know that it's actually things to complete. Like certain things in the game do not open up. Excuse me, I'm sorry. There are things in the game they don't open up until you reach certain markers within the story.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the times I went to the I have screenshots of me running into this random statue in the middle of nowhere of some lady. And I was like, "What the hell is this?" I tried climbing it and everything. I was like, "Oh, cool." I took a photo with it and everything. I was doing all dumb stuff. And then finally, I get to my what you call it, my settlement. I'm running around doing nothing, just BSing. And I made the girl that she could sell the special animal boss fights you do. You could
mm-hmm.
sell her stuff and everything. She was my little girlfriend, so I'm running around like, oh yeah, da da da. And then something crash lands literally in the middle of the settlement, and I'm like, what the hell is that? I go up to it, and apparently from that thing, after that little cutscene, you can actually go to any of those statues that are markers in the whole world, and they're actual challenges. And then the
Mm,
challenges, it's you can do a sneak challenge, you could do an attack challenge, and then I think there's like a race or something or a
right,
challenge and
okay.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And literally, there's so much content in the game, it's insane. Uh, and when you talked about less markers on the map, maybe it's because I did mess with my settings a lot. I made it so I had less stuff that I
Okay.
don't feel as other people did
Mhm.
and everything. But I understand the default experience sometimes is overwhelming, especially like a Skyrim type situation
Yeah.
where it's like 27 different things on your compass. So
Yeah. Yeah, it could definitely be a bit much.
yeah,
This is the map though is similar to Valhalla but smaller than Odyssey. There's also you're going to be able to utilize a grappling hook similar to Sekiro and Ghost of Tsushima, so that could be pretty awesome. You could choose different
okay.
stances, which reminds me of like Star Wars Jedi Survivor in a way with the different stances.
Wait,
Um,
was Odyssey bigger than Valhalla? The map?
mhm.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Odyssey is
Kind
one
of.
of the biggest like maps period. Like it was pretty crazy.
Yeah,
I feel like in Odyssey like you beat the game, but like half the map you never even went to. At least
that's
that
how
was
it
my
was in
experience. I think I
Origins.
beat like 80 or
Yeah.
90 hours to beat the game, and I was like, feel like I barely touched the map.
Oh yeah. Damn.
Yeah. Um, NPCs defend themselves, which is awesome because the NPCs in the game are pretty shitty as it is.
Yeah.
Interesting here, you can recruit enemies as spies. So I'm curious to see how well, like, how immersive that is, or if it's just like like a cliche, like something that just doesn't feel like it should be there.
As well as what exactly are spies?
Right.
In Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, if you've rescued somebody from like getting beat up or something like that, you can recruit them and everything, and they actually become an assassin, like an assassin recruit, and you can
Okay.
send them on missions, and they can rank up and eventually become assassin master or whatnot. Like so, if they are spies, can you actually make them rank up and somehow
Yeah.
turn into assassins themselves, or is it simply as when you pay off the guys in town to go beat up some guards to distract them, like
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah, we'll see how impactful that is. Obviously in this game there's gonna be like two characters that you're gonna be playing as, which is Yasuki, which I'm probably saying the shit wrong.
Yasuke.
Yasuke, and the other one is Nayo. One is like more of like a aggressive, intense fighter, and then the other one's more of like let me hide in the shadows.
Yep,
Um, so this would be pretty
based off
cool.
the famous African samurai,
Yeah,
first and only, if I'm not mistaken, African
yeah,
samurai. Shout out to him. Although the anime or Netflix was trash, but shout out to him.
yeah. It says it may involve some naval combat and explorations as job listings for Ubisoft Singapore hints at working at Naval 3C for Assassin's Creed Red. I hope it's not too overwhelming with this like naval combat because I've had this
Yeah,
conversation. A lot of people boo me for it, but that's one of the reasons why like I actually did play Black Flag, but I couldn't play it because it was just too much being on that boat and trying to fight boat to boat. And I was like, I'm not. And now looking back at it, I don't want to play Skull and Bones. I want to play
yeah.
Assassin's Creed. You know what I mean? um,
Nah, I completely agree with you. Because listen, as somebody who plays like Sea of Thieves, I can honestly tell you, like, I can only play Sea of Thieves, but so much.
yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, I'm like, all right, listen, I'm just trying to go shoot some shit. Like, I don't want to have a blunder bust and only get like 5 shots off, and I got to run back and reload. Nah, I'm not doing none of that, man.
Yeah. Well, good thing with Sea of Thieves they added that PVE experience. You don't have to worry about like running into random people that are sweaty as shit and stealing your shit. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get as much loot though, so that sucks.
But last part here from his tweet says launching project for 2024 since Ubisoft business development and brand partnership teams have been seeking sponsorship partners for 2024. And then a lot of these reports come directly from Tom Henderson, one of the biggest reporters in gaming. It says years of post-launch support and content will coexist with Codename Hex, which is the other game that is in the works, which is more of like a darker telling of the game. It seems really like almost like Hellblade kind of experience, which could be a
Yes,
really different take on the Assassin's Creed franchise. So I'm looking
during the
forward to
Salem
that.
witch trials, I can't wait for it.
Yeah, that's just gonna be badass. It says rumored to have its own world premiere revealed between May and June, with launch sometime in the fall, November, which kind of lines up to what I was saying earlier that we could see this at the Summer Games Fest on Jeff Keighley's
Yep.
show. Um, oh,
Or let's not forget, Xbox normally gets the marketing rights for Assassin's Creed.
yeah,
We could see it in June when because Microsoft did announce
yeah,
that was
today.
is it June 9th that they're having it.
Yeah, yep, June
So,
9th.
something around there. Yeah. So who knows?
Yeah, we'll
I
see.
mean, they got more than enough games to show, but regardless,
Especially, excuse me, especially this year. It's insane
Yes,
how much
yes.
shit they have at the back half of the year because obviously they get Call of Duty, Indiana Jones, Avowed, um, Starfield's DLC, Shatter Space. Like they have a lot to go
Yeah.
over and release the rest of the year. But and this is it's labeled as a biggest blockbuster of 2024. So I mean, Assassin's Creed is like one of the. It used to be an annual release. It is one of the biggest games,
Hmm.
period, and it's always one of those games that sell consoles. Like people go out and buy a console just so they can play Assassin's Creed, typically.
Yep.
But that was a quick rundown through that tweet because that game has always seemed really interesting. Because I'm surprised it took this long for them to actually have a Japanese like setting, and I'm really excited if this is how it plays out, how it sounds.
Yeah, like all right, let's just get to the nitty gritty. All right, we've been asking for Assassin's Creed to go to Japan since literally after the first game.
Hmm.
After the Assassin's Creed game, we were like, "Hey, yo, assassinating. He has a hood over his head. Ninjas." Like
Yeah,
it
yeah,
just and everything. There's little fan art going back as far as 2007 when this game came out. And we're like, yeah, it's a ninja. We're climbing on stuff. We're high. It's a ninja. Like so. Yes, we've been waiting this whole thing. Then they went over to Italy and everything with the whole Ezio trilogy and stuff and Roma and all this stuff.
hmm
And then Assassin's Creed what is it Revelations, he goes back over to the Middle East and stuff like that, and they visit OG spot and everything from Assassin's Creed 1 to find the remains of Altair. Cool, we get that. Then you do the whole uh before Black Flag was Assassin's Creed 3 and everything and stuff. You went here in the States and they're doing revolutionary type stuff.
hmm
Cool, that's all good. This whole time we were asking, go to Japan.
Yeah.
And then what did they do? They said, "Hey, you got a DS? Cool. Here's Assassin's Creed China." And it's like, bro, no, like this is starting to seem racial. All we asked was Japan,
Right.
and then now all these years later, after we get a Ghost of Tsushima and everything, and even if you want to even throw a Neo into there and stuff like that.
hmm
Finally, we're now getting Assassin's Creed Japan, even though we've been asking for this for way too long. If they drop the ball, this is honestly their fault.
Oh
You have
yeah.
more than enough time and everything to do this and stuff, and you continuously chose not to. They have to, bro. They got it. This has to be a 10 out of 10 across the board,
Yeah.
or else
Hopefully.
I'm just flipping shit. Like,
Only time will tell, man. But yeah,
yeah,
man, let's go ahead and end out the episode. I just want to thank everyone who came through and checked this video out. This is the first episode of many to come where I do dive in by myself or bring on a special guest, or even if you want to come on and talk about a specific topic as well, just be sure to hit me up there. Make sure you do drop that subscribe here on the YouTube channel and make sure you hit that bell for any future content as well, because I do have playthroughs of all the different games that I do stream over on my Twitch, which is twitch.tv/Mr. Never Chillin. But before we end out the episode, I want to thank you, Paul, aka InHumanLine, for coming on to the first episode of the Chillin Chronicles. Thanks, man.
no, thank you for the invite again and everything. And before we get out of here, please understand, Assassin's Creed Hex will be the perfect game that if they choose to knock RPG, that could actually work. Have RPG light elements, upgrade a couple spells, but other than that, nah, man, let that drum be. But yes, thank you again for inviting me to this episode, first episode. Yes, it was very special and everything. If you would like to find me on any of your social medias, it's at InHumanLine on all your various social media networks. That's InHumanLine. Again, it's InHumanLine. Appreciate the invite. Thank you.
Yes, sir, bro. And again, we'll check you guys out on the next episode. Peace.